All right, the last volume we have to learn in 8th grade is for a sphere. So a sphere is a ball, basically. Um, I'm sure you can think of a bunch of different examples, especially if you play sports like basketball, baseball, tennis, anything. Not football, though. That is not a sphere. Um, and so what we're doing is we're trying to find the volume for spheres. And to do that, it's actually easier than the other two, the cylinder and the cone. The equation, all you need to know is one number, and that's one number from the drawing or the example, and it's the radius. You don't need to know the height because technically the radius is just from the middle to the outside of the ball. So all you need to know is the radius. For these examples today, we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So remember, that's the first decimal spot over, but then you're going to have to look at the hundredths spot to see if you either keep this number or if you round it up. So let's look at our first example. And then this is the actual volume. It's the volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. And cubed is because it's volume. So let's look here at our first example. So here I have a sphere, and I put this dot from the middle to the outside. That's representing our radius. If it went from one end to the other, that'd be our diameter, which we do not want to use in this formula. So we like the 6 we're going to use. So what I do is I always write down r equals 6, just so that I know what I'm going to plug in for r. And then from here, it's just as easy as plugging in 4/3 times, and then we're going to use 3.14 for pi today, times 6 raised to the third. That's cubed. So this is the way that I would type it in my calculator. So if you are using a calculator, which you should be putting the 4/3 in parentheses, and then you should be using the caret symbol to be raising it to the third power. You can type this all in one go. You don't even have to do it in multiple steps, just one go, you can do this. If you type that in, you end up getting the volume equals 904 and 32 hundredths. But like I said, we want to round to the nearest tenth. So we basically have to look at this 3. Should this 3 stay, or should it round up to a 4? And to do that, you look at the 2. Since this 2 is less than 5, we keep it as a 3. So our final answer would be 904 and 3/10 cubic inches, because cubed is volume. Now remember, if you want to do any of these examples on your own before I show them, just get out a piece of paper and a pencil and work them. Just pause the video as you go. And then that way you are doing practice, or you can keep watching. That is up to you. Now in this example, if you look at this sphere, I have given you the diameter rather than the radius. Do we want the diameter? Does this say diameter? No. So we need to find out what the radius is. And all it is half of this. So if I know that my diameter is 8, 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my radius, my r value, is 4. So now I'm just going to plug in the 4 for my radius. So if you want to do that and pause the video, go for it. If you do so, it'll look something like this. Make sure, I wrote it a little differently here because this is another way you might see it, but make sure there's just parentheses around the 4/3 and you're using the caret key to raise to the third. If you type that in, you end up getting 267, and then there's a bunch of decimals after it, but then we get 0.946. We need to find out, is this 9 going to stay, or would we have to round this up to a whole nother whole number? Since this hundredth is a 4, it's less than 5, we get to keep the 9. We get to keep the 9, so that is my volume for this sphere or ball. And this one's feet cubed. We used feet in this example. Now this last example, I just give a picture and then I say the diameter is 20 centimeters. Once again, do we want to use the diameter? Nope. We want to use the radius. So what would the radius be? It would be half of 20, so it would be 10 centimeters. Boom. There's that. And then from here, once again, we just plug in the 10 for R. That would go in right here. There we go. Get the 10 for R. And then you end up getting a pretty big number. Ends up being 4,186.6, repeating on and on and on. And then you have to figure out, does this 6 stay or does it get rounded up? Since the following number is greater than 5 or 5, this means that this is going to turn into a 7. So that is my final answer, 4,186 and 7/10 cubic centimeters.